जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। My sincere gratitude to Gauranga Prem Prabhu for inviting me, and I feel very blessed that I have a chance to serve all of you today morning. Sorry, I think it's evening there, and I know that I'm addressing or discussing with all my God brothers and God sisters. So I am going to speak freely from my heart, and because there are very few formal occasions for disciples to glorify their spiritual master. Generally, on the Vyasas and Bhagavatam classes, we don't speak about our spiritual masters so much. But this is a very, very special opportunity, and I want to thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So we'll start now. And for my purification of my heart, I would like to speak about our spiritual master, His Holiness Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And Vyas Puja is a day when two contradictory emotions surface in our heart. One is joy, a lot of happiness that we can glorify our spiritual master. At the same time, there is also sobriety. We become very sober, understanding and meditating on our disqualifications. And especially in a country like India, where spirituality is often misunderstood, people are generally hovering on two extremes. The Mayavadis, they consider Guru as God. For them, Guru is everything, and there is no Krishna in their life. And the other extreme, we have Sahajiyas, those who take spiritual life very cheaply, and they have everything to do with Krishna. They say, I love Krishna, Krishna is everything, but they have nothing to do with Guru. So therefore, these extremes are there. And that's why we are very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada, who is a perfect representative of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, has given us a process where we understand Guru's position and we worship him like Krishna, but knowing fully well that he is most dear to Krishna. That is his position. And Guru's most special place is that he gives us Krishna. Guru is most important in our life because he helps us re-establish our relationship with Krishna. And therefore, Vyas Puja day is the most important day because it helps us connect with Krishna by glorifying our spiritual master. And Srila Rupa Goswami even explained in the 64 items of devotional service, the first principle is to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And we know what will please Guru Maharaj, but I will just share here with all of you my understanding. Whenever we have asked Maharaj about what will please him the most, he has said what Srila Prabhupada also said many years ago, that if we love Krishna, that will please him the most. And that's exactly why Guru comes to material world, to give us Krishna, to help us connect with Krishna. Guru is most merciful not because he embraces me, or because he gives my children names, or he comes for your marriage, or he comes for the housewarming ceremony. No. Krishna se tomar Krishna dite paro tumara shakati ache. Guru's main service or main activity is to give us Krishna. So the best way to be miserable as a devotee is to have non-Krishna conscious expectations from Guru. If we are clear about Krishna consciousness, if we are clear what Guru is giving us, then we will get a lot of mercy of Guru. But if we have other expectations, then we will be miserable. So therefore, let us on Vyas Puja day sincerely focus on the Krishna factor. Then everything else will be taken care of. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Shraddha Shabde Vishwase Sudrida Nischay Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That if we have this faith that Krishna is the most important thing in my life, then everything else will be taken care of. And therefore, on Vyas Puja day, I would like to meditate on this special gift that His Holiness Sadhana Swami Maharaj, our dear Srila Gurudev, has given all of us. And Maharaj says in one class that Maya, she is so powerful that she can trap both devotees and non-devotees. And he says how Maya traps non-devotees is that she convinces them not to surrender to Krishna. And Maya also traps devotees by convincing them to postpone their surrender to Krishna. You see, there is a difference. Non-devotees, they will never surrender to Krishna. But devotees, they know everything is right. We have to surrender to Krishna. But they are convinced that, okay, maybe later, tomorrow, day after, next year. So we can't postpone. Today is the day we can reaffirm that we want to surrender to Krishna. And we are so fortunate that we have almost more than 5,000 lectures of Maharaj on various platforms, especially in ISKCON Desire Tree. Now, if you type audio.ISKCON Desire Tree, you will get thousands of lectures of Maharaj. And all of these lectures give us Krishna. And this is actually Maharaj's special service. In fact, Maharaj is not very comfortable getting involved in or guiding us on material aspects of our lives, because he said many times that that's not my expertise, but he'll always tell us to remember Krishna. I remember once in a Pune Yatra in, I think, 1998 or 1999, Radha Gopinath Prabhu, one of our temple presidents, he asked a question to Maharaj on behalf of all the devotees, that Maharaj, as our movement gets older and as you get more disciples, it will be very difficult for us to get direct instructions from you. So how do we then know that we are pleasing you? Or how do we take decisions in life? Because you're not there to guide us personally. So Maharaj said that if you're following 4 regulative principles, and if you're accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then considering all factors, if you take a decision and you're ready to pay the price for it, then you are doing the right thing. Because you will learn, you will grow, and you will evolve. So he was making very important point that eventually when we are at crossroads, when we are in a situation where we have to take decisions by our own, we need to remember Sri Guru and his instructions of remembering Krishna. And today I would also especially like to remember 2 amazing contrasting qualities of Maharaj. One is deeply absorbed in Krishna, and at the same time is very practical and down to earth, and he understands what needs to be done in a particular situation. Like I remember one devotee, Maharaj told him when he was very sick, Maharaj said, just surrender to Krishna, remember Krishna, tell Krishna that, Krishna, do whatever you want with me. So he gave very lofty, pure devotional principles. On another occasion, to another devotee who told Maharaj that my father is considering giving some property to me, but I've surrendered everything to Krishna and I have nothing to do with family life. I have no bank account, no money, and I've been in this renounce order for almost 15 years now, and I have nothing to do with it. So I have politely told my father that I don't need any of this. Maharaj was so practical. Maharaj told him, no, take it, you will need it. And that's exactly what happened. He took it, and just after a few years, when he was in a very big crisis and he had to readjust in another ashram, and that time this money came handy. So I've seen that Maharaj is very, very practical. At the same time, is deeply absorbed in Krishna. And for us on Vyas Puja day, we need to remember that if we are happy in Krishna consciousness, if we are stable, if we are sane, that's not because of our practices. That's because somebody's blessing is on our head. Somebody's hand is on our head. And that is Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. And therefore the Bhagavatam says, Prasanga majaram pasham kavayo atmano vidu saeva sadhusho kruto mokshadvaram apavritam. That attachment is very, very painful, entangling, and gives a lot of suffering. But when that same attachment is transferred to a pure devotee of Krishna, then it opens the doors of liberation. And if you see Maharaj, how he's absorbed in Krishna, even as a 5-year-old boy, if you've read Journey Home, you will see that even as a young boy, in the very first page of Journey Home, he writes about how he would sit on the bed in the night and you would pray to Krishna. And you pray to God, please reveal to me who you are. So this is Maharaj's mood. He's always praying. And I remember once we asked Maharaj, at that time I had not written any books. I remember asking him about journal writing, about writing. Maharaj said, Prabhu, I am not a writer. I am a prayer. I like to pray. And Maharaj also confessed once to us, the few devotees, that every night before sleeping in the room, he does a mansik mental parikrama of Govardhan and Vrindavan. So he's always remembering Krishna. And the proof of this absorption in Krishna is when he's with Krishna, you will see Maharaj forgets time. He actually has taught us many times the need to transcend thinking about past and future and be focused on the present. We have experienced many yatras with Maharaj where Maharaj has not considered time at all. Like, he would begin the class at 9:30, 10, then we would expect lunch at 1 o'clock, but Maharaj would go on till 3:30, 4, then lunch would be around 4:30, 5. I mean, the timetable would go all topsy-turvy because he is absorbed in Krishna. This is one aspect of Maharaj which I wanted to focus today. One instance I remember during our Jagannath Puri Yatra in 1998, Sanat Kumar Prabhu was the manager of the Yatra, and we were having 4 or 5 buses. We traveled from Jagannath Puri to Remuna, which was around 5 to 6 hours drive. And the whole plan was Maharaj would end the class by 4:30, and then 5 o'clock we would all leave from Remuna and reach Jagannath Puri by 10 o'clock in the night, so that next day morning we have a yatra to other places. Everything was planned perfectly. But when Maharaj got absorbed in giving his class, he forgot time. And Sanat Kumar Prabhu sent a note saying that, Maharaj, the bus drivers are insisting, because we have already told them that we'll be leaving at 5, it's almost 5 now. We need to go. Maharaj just turned that paper aside and he just went on speaking the pastimes. So the class that should have ideally ended at 5, Maharaj went on speaking till 8:30. And Sanat Kumar Prabhu had a tough time managing all the bus drivers, and he was exasperated. And then Maharaj, at 8:30, Maharaj said, now we will all honor the Kheer Prasad, Amrita Keli. Remuna is very famous for this Kheer, sweet rice, which was personally stolen by the Lord for his dear devotee, Madhavendra Puri. Maharaj said, to honor this pastime, we will all now honor this sweet rice. So Sanat Kumar Prabhu, being a very proactive, intelligent manager, very happily announced, Maharaj, don't worry, we have kept all the sweet rice boxes for all the devotees in the buses. So when we travel to Puri, on the way, they'll all get their pot of sweet rice. Excellent planning. So he was happy that he had done this. But Maharaj, he said, no, get all the sweet rice boxes out. Let us all give it to the devotees. So all the devotees had the sweet rice in their hand, that bowl. And Maharaj said, nobody is going to eat it now. We'll just meditate on Madhavendra Puri. So Maharaj built up the whole meditation. And then Maharaj said, now we will pick up a few drops of the sweet rice and we'll remember Krishna, Madhavendra Puri. And he gave a whole experience of connecting with Krishna. And then he said, now we'll put it on the tongue. And now we will chant Hari Bol, like that. He gave the whole experience. And then finally, we all boarded the buses and left from Remuna at 10:30, 10 o'clock in the night. I mean, that's when we were supposed to reach Jagannath Puri. So you see, Maharaj and Sanat Kumar Prabhu thought that was the most challenging period in the yatra. But after the yatra, when we all gathered for feedback and everybody was sharing their realizations, all the devotees unanimously agreed that the highlight of the yatra and the best experience of the yatra was that moment, that evening in Remuna. So what was managerially most frustrating was spiritually the most exhilarating experience. This is Maharaj's special quality. Because he's absorbed in Krishna, he wants us also to experience Krishna. And to experience Krishna, at least there has to be some activity where time is not important for us. Now, unfortunately, for many of us, we have our responsibilities. So when we are chatting our 16 rounds, we are very time conscious. Fine. But at least there should be something where when we are with Krishna in some aspect, whether it is deity worship, chanting or reading Bhagavatam, somewhere where time doesn't matter. If you are with someone you claim to love, and when you're talking to that person, and if you keep looking at the watch every 5 minutes, what will happen to your relationship with that person? You can't tell a person, you can't tell your lover, see, sweetheart, I have only 5 minutes, speak what you want. And you keep looking at the watch, that the relationship is not going to sustain. Similarly, Krishna is our sweetheart, Krishna is our Lord, Krishna is our master, Krishna is our lover. And when we are with Krishna, if you're only thinking of time all the time, then there is something wrong in our relationship. So at least this is a very big meditation, which I feel is a take home from Maharaj on Maharaj Vyas Puja day, that can I connect to Krishna in a space beyond time, at least sometime, at least once a day or once a week. Once we were with Maharaj in Bangladesh, we were traveling, Yatra. Maharaj had taken just 10 devotees to the temple management, Benapol, Keturi, very holy places. And at one place, Maharaj was supposed to finish the class in the evenings before sunset so that we could pack our bags. And next day, early morning, we had to drive all the way to Benapol. And it was a long drive. So we had to sleep early, pack our bags, devotees, our stomach upset. So there were a lot of complications and a lot of things had to be planned. But Maharaj was oblivious to time. And in Keturi, when he was giving class on Narottam Das Thakur, he went on speaking for 5 hours. And finally, Gauranga Prabhu, Shyamanand Prabhu realized that we need to end the class now. And when they humbly approached Maharaj, and just as they were about to tell Maharaj, Maharaj said, now we will have Kirtan. And so then they had Kirtan for another hour. And then when they finally told Maharaj that, Maharaj, we need to end the class, we need to go, Maharaj said, this is your problem. You are not present. This is a very profound statement he made. This is our problem. We are not present. So this is Maharaj's mood. He's always present. He's always is Krishna conscious. He's absorbed in Krishna. Like when we go to Vrindavan, when we come from New Delhi airport and we enter the Chatikara road, he generally stops many times. He goes to the trees. He goes inside, embraces the trees. And he's so absorbed in Vrindavan and Sri Krishna. Maharaj is not very fond of sweets, especially Indian sweets. And once Radharaman temple Pujari came to meet Maharaj, and he was not in the room in Fogla Ashram in Vrindavan. And he left a box of Radharaman sweets for Maharaj. And when Maharaj came back, we told him that Radharaman and Pujari had come. Maharaj entered into a kind of spiritual trance. He said, oh, Radharaman Pujari brought Mahaprasad for me. So he took it as Radharaman sending it. And he opened that box and very prayerfully, he finished the entire box of sweets. This is not materially, physically, bodily possible. It's not possible at the bodily level. This incident is a confirmation that he is actually transcendental when he is absorbed in Krishna. And although Maharaj is like this, same time, he is very practical. Like I've seen in a few management meetings, I was part of the management team earlier, not anymore. And I remember he would be happy to get feedback. And he would also, whenever there were some issues, he would, if needed, he would apologize. I've seen him even apologizing to devotees. And he is very grounded. And I've also seen that no event can surprise or shock Maharaj. I've seen him take shocking news in a very equipoised manner, because I guess he knows material world only too well. And therefore, because he's absorbed in Krishna, he is able to see everything from Krishna's point of view. And therefore, he will be very practical. He's very practical when it comes to management meetings. I remember once one devotee would not attend the meetings, and I told Maharaj that, Maharaj, you should convince him to attend the meeting because this will improve our relationships. We are all one team, we are one family. And Maharaj immediately dismissed it by saying, management meetings will never improve relationships. I mean, this was so practical what he said. But I said, Maharaj, but this is Krishna consciousness, this is service to Krishna. And Maharaj again immediately snapped me. He said, no, this is indirect service to Krishna. Relationship will only improve when we have direct service to Krishna, which is hearing and chanting. And direct hearing and chanting, when it is greater or more in quality and quantity than management meetings, only then you can sustain the relationship. Only then you can sustain the seva of management. So therefore, this is one of the most amazing qualities of Maharaj, that he's not bewildered by any external situation. And at the same time, he's also very, very grounded, practical, and he understands what is of real value to devotees. And his practical dealings, I have seen, on many occasions. I remember once, I remember once when I was a very new devotee and I was very keen to impress Maharaj and see that he thinks of me well. I was in a situation where I had to, I felt very cornered, because we were having Govardhan festival and we had done offerings for Giriraj, a lot of bhoga was prepared, and then the offering was done and we were waiting for Aarti. And Maharaj hadn't finished the class. He was going on and on and on. And we were waiting, when will the class end? Because we were hungry, we were young men. We wanted to eat prasadam, but the class was going on. And it was, I was waiting very close to Maharaj in the class. And I kept looking at the Govardhan, huge mountains of batata vada, samosas, rice, puris. And I was looking at the Govardhan and also looking at Maharaj. And when will the class end? And to my great surprise, I saw in front of me, Gauranga Prabhu was sitting in the class and he was eating something. I was like, wow. And I saw him pick up one of the batata vadas from the Giriraj and he was eating it. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then suddenly he saw me looking at him. Gauranga Prabhu saw that I'm looking at him. So immediately he handed me one of the samosas. Because when a thief is caught, when he's apprehended, he wants others also to be involved in the crime. So he handed me one samosa and I was hungry. And I ate it quietly, And then it was an amazing experience. And when you are hungry and you eat one samosa, you want more. So he kept feeding me and we were eating for 20 minutes. We had a full, and simultaneously the class is going on. And then I was like, wow, Gauranga Prabhu is so cool. And then after the class, after the festival in the evening, Gauranga Prabhu told me, Braj Bihari, come, let us go and tell Maharaj sorry. I said, why? Because we stole Mahaprasad and we were eating when he was giving class. That's not correct. We should go and apologize to Maharaj. I said, Prabhu, but no, I didn't do it. You were the one who stole it. I was just, you can't take me because Maharaj doesn't know me. I don't want his first impression to be that I'm a thief or, I'm not sincere. He said, no, Maharaj is very cool. Maharaj won't mind. You just come with me. And he dragged me to Maharaj's room. And he apologized to Maharaj. And amazing thing was, I was expecting Maharaj would be disapproving of what we did, or he would say, don't do it again. But I was amazed that Maharaj made no issue of it. In fact, he said, I am amazed that you were eating Mahaprasad because I couldn't see you eating Mahaprasad. How did you do it? How did you steal the Mahaprasad? And he was asking us as if he was curious to know about our adventure and our exploits. And that's when I realized he's so cool and he's so, he's not, he's not a fanatic, he's not bewildered, he's cool. And then when we were leaving the room, Maharaj turned to Gauranga Prabhu. Maharaj told Gauranga Prabhu, I'm amazed by what you did today afternoon. And then pointing to me, because I was very new in the ashram, I had just joined, Maharaj told Gauranga Prabhu, and this young man, he seems to be innocent. Why do you drag him to your crime? And I felt so accepted and loved, because generally I've seen all devotees, in fact, all human beings, our biggest need is non-judgmental acceptance. We all want to be accepted for who we are. And when we get acceptance, then, even if we don't get appreciation, we are okay, because acceptance is the biggest need. And when I saw Maharaj accept me for who I am, I realized that he is very, very practical, very devotional. And these two qualities, they are in Maharaj simultaneously in great abundance. Like Maharaj always glorifies Krishna. And one time I saw him do something extraordinary. There was one donor who was coming to the temple who was who had a very strong opinion on Brahmanas in India. He said, spirituality should be preached by Brahmanas. Gurus should be those who are Brahmin by birth. And that was not, it's not in agreement with our philosophy, right? Our acharyas have never advocated that you should be a Brahmin by birth to be a guru. Although he liked Maharaj and he would appreciate Maharaj, but his strong opinion put many of us off. And he was also a great fan of Gauranga Prabhu. So he would sponsor the Wednesday Gauranga Prabhu's classes. For years, he sponsored it. And he would come and meet Maharaj, and every time he would tell Maharaj that how Brahmanas are great. And Maharaj didn't have the heart to instruct him and correct him. At the same time, Maharaj had to educate him on the principles of spiritual life. So how to do it? Look at Maharaj's genius, how Maharaj educated him. That was an amazing experience. One day, I went to Gauranga Prabhu and I said, Prabhu, I've joined the ashram since a long time now. I need to shave up. So you need to give me permission to shave up. Gauranga Prabhu said, no way. You are not sincere. You are like this. You are like that. You have to wait. I said, no, but I'm tired of waiting. I want to shave up. So then I thought I'll bypass Gauranga Prabhu and I went to Maharaj direct. I said, Maharaj, I want to shave up. I've joined the ashram and this Gauranga Prabhu is not allowing me. Maharaj said, really? Call Gauranga Prabhu. And Maharaj said, Gauranga Prabhu, what do you think of this gentleman? He wants to shave up and join the ashram. And Gauranga Prabhu said, yes, he's a good boy. He's a good man. I think you should encourage him. Gauranga Prabhu, old face, he changed his stance. Then Maharaj said, okay, Gauranga Prabhu, then I have a request. Why don't you shave him? And shave him right now. So Gauranga Prabhu said, Maharaj, but I've never shaved anyone in the last 3 years of my ashram life. Since I joined, I never shaved anyone. But then Maharaj said, okay, today you can try for the first time, shave him up. And I got scared. I said, Maharaj, no, I don't want to be shaved by him because he's never shaved anyone. What if he cuts me? Maharaj said, no. You shave, both of you shave each other right now. I insist. And then Maharaj looked into the room, that donor I was talking about, who was very fanatical about Brahmanism. He was in the room with Maharaj talking to Maharaj. So Maharaj turned to us again, told us, go right now to the common bathroom and shave each other up. And then Maharaj went back to the room. Now, for those of you who don't know, Brahmanas in India are very caste conscious generally. And it is said that Brahmanas are generally expected not to do the job of shaving. Shaving is considered very menial, which is supposed to be done by lower caste people. And this man is a fanatical Brahmana promoter. So when Maharaj told us to go down and we were shaving each other, to our great surprise, Maharaj came there. Maharaj never comes to the common bathroom. He came there with this gentleman along with him. And this man was shocked to see Gauranga Prabhu shave me. And Maharaj told him, see, this is your Gauranga Prabhu, Brahmana. And he's shaving another Brahmana. So this is what the Brahmanas are doing. He was shocked because he didn't expect us to be shaving that. That was considered to be a low job, menial job. And that's how Maharaj shook him completely and also educated him that, don't be puffed up being a Brahmana. What's more important is service to Krishna. So Maharaj is like this. He's very practical, how to educate people in a certain way. And at the same time, you'll be personally absorbed in Krishna. When we go to Govardhan Eco Village, you'll see Maharaj tie a turban on his head like a Pakka Brajavasi and have a stick in his hand. And he does the parikrama of Vrindavan in Govardhan Eco Village. For hours, he's alone. He'll offer obeisances to all the temples. And in a very high pitch, he will chant Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan. And that intensity of Maharaj's Krishna consciousness, many people cannot handle. And I've seen him once as a personal servant. I saw him inside his room with this harmonium chant Hare Krishna Kirtan for hours. So he's a simple person. He's not a manager at heart. He loves Krishna. He loves Vrindavan. And I've seen that if we get to hear his classes, that will be the way we can associate with him. And that is the way we can also experience Krishna in our lives. And I've personally seen how connection with Guru Maharaj means basically connection with his Vani, with his classes, and that will help us at times of need. I have personally experienced it on a few occasions, because once one of our brahmacharis went to Maharaj and said, Maharaj, I want personal instructions from you. And Maharaj said, all my personal instructions to all my disciples are there in my classes. If you hear my classes, you will be guided in your heart by the Chaitya Guru. And that is the way I instruct my disciples. So when this brahmachari came and told me, I said, wow, oh, so Maharaj likes if we hear his classes. So I took it as a clue, and I heard some of Maharaj's classes, and then I wrote down some points, and I presented it as like I presented it as a Vyas Puja offering. Like, for example, my Vyas Puja offering was very unique that time. I had just joined the ashram. I said, Maharaj, when I'm distressed, I would like to remember, and quote and unquote, some pastime of some instruction of Maharaj given in a class on distress. And then when I'm feeling angry, Maharaj, I would like to remember what you said in one lecture. And then I would put that quote on anger which Maharaj spoke. So like that, I collected all quotations of Maharaj and made it into an offering, like in a poetic way. And I wrote it down. And our temple, Govind Prabhu insisted that on Vyas Puja day, I should also read my offering. I said, no, Prabhu, but there are so many senior devotees. But Govind Prabhu said, no, I insist you do that. And then I read my offering, and I was so happy, because when Maharaj was coming back to the temple, he told Govind Prabhu, Gaur Gopal Prabhu, and a few other devotees that Vraj Bihari's offering was the best. I liked it very much. And I was so happy. And then after a few days, Maharaj saw me and he said, your offering was so good. And I said, Maharaj, actually, honestly, I just copy-pasted some of your instructions. And because I heard, that I thought you will be happy if you get to hear some of the points you have said in your lectures. So actually, I don't have any love, Maharaj. I hope I one day develop unflinching attachment to you. But it is just an intellectual exercise I did. So Maharaj said, no, you definitely have love. Otherwise, you wouldn't have written such a beautiful offering. And then I told Maharaj that you told one of our brahmacharis that your instructions are there in your classes. That's where you give instructions. And when Maharaj heard me say that, his expression changed. And with his left fist, he banged it on the table that he was sitting, the table in front of him. And he banged it. He said, this is parampara. This is parampara. I said, what? I was shocked. I said, what did I say? Maharaj said, parampara is to hear the instructions. And then Maharaj said, 90% of sincere devotees in ISKCON today who are serving Srila Prabhupada's mission are devotees who have not got any personal association of Srila Prabhupada. They are taking association of Srila Prabhupada through his instructions. And then Maharaj said, I put my blood, sweat, toil into my classes. And devotees simply remember how I embraced them, or how I smiled at them, or how I gave names to their children. No, they don't care to remember the class that I gave. So this is Maharaj's mood. He expects us to remember and hear his classes, understand, and he wants us to be absorbed in his instructions that he gives us in his classes. And I have personally experienced it, that when I saw Maharaj become so happy with, the fact that I heard his class. Once I remember, Maharaj went to Gopal's Garden School to give a talk, and I was at the gate welcoming Maharaj, but I didn't enter the class because I thought it is a class exclusively for the school children and staff. And after the class, when Maharaj came out, he saw me, he said, you were not in the class? I said, Maharaj, I thought it is for the school staff, so I didn't come in. And then Maharaj made such a disapproving face, as if, what's the big deal? You should have come in. And then Maharaj's servant, realizing that I'm feeling a little sad, he told Maharaj, but Vraj Bihari is doing a lot of preaching in this school. In the evenings, he does congregation preaching. Hundreds of people come. He's very good in preaching to congregation. And immediately Maharaj said, oh, so you go inside to give class. You don't go inside to hear class, is it? And that was again an eye-opener for me, that Maharaj expects us to hear and study and understand his instructions that he gives us in his classes. And I have seen how there are occasions when this has personally helped me. In 2012, May, 10 of our devotees died in an air crash. When they left their bodies, they were going to Muktinath. It was one of the most devastating incidents that has happened in our community. And I was in the temple. Maharaj was in America. Gauranga Prabhu was in America. Govind Prabhu was in America. And that time, the media was coming to the temple, wanting to know all the details, and we had to keep media at bay. We had to deal with the pain and shock ourselves. It was a very painful moment, and there was no clarity. Maharaj hadn't yet come from America, and that time, those days we used to have this iPod where we had lectures of Maharaj, and I remember searching. I searched accident, death, or tragedy, like that, and all lectures with the title of accident, death, or tragedy. We got some lot of lectures, and then we heard those lectures for 10 days before Maharaj came. And those lectures, they nourished us, they gave us relief during the period of great distress. And I remember some instructions Maharaj gave in those classes. Those instructions, I typed them and put them on the notice board, and that gave us relief during time of distress. Like I remember in one of the classes, class was given in 1997, and the accident happened in 2012. So 15 years later, this instruction came handy. In that old class, Maharaj is saying that sometimes devotees die in an accident. But instead of feeling bewildered, we should know that one moment he was a devotee, and the next moment he has died, but he has become a gopi in the spiritual world. So when Maharaj said that, it was so hope-giving. Suddenly I felt, these devotees, they have died, but they have gone back to Krishna. It was such a hope-giving thing. My grief turned into gratitude. My grief turned into a celebration of the fact that these devotees have gone to Krishna. And in that same series, in another class, Maharaj said, sometimes devotees go through a lot of tragedies, but you should know that non-devotees get what they deserve, but devotees get what they need to come closer to Krishna. What a beautiful statement. Non-devotees get what they deserve, but devotees get what they need to come closer to Krishna. What a beautiful understanding. So like this, Maharaj's lectures contain instructions which give us relief, which give us guidance, which dispel the darkness of the confusion from our heart. And this is how we can get shelter of Maharaj, we can get instructions of Maharaj, all from his lectures. And there are thousands of lectures. If we hear one lecture every day, it will take us 10 years to complete all the lectures that are there on Maharaj's website. I remember a few years ago, those of you are Indians, you may know that our Honorable Prime Minister, he announced demonetization. 500 rupee notes and 1,000 rupee notes were invalid. And I am a congregation preacher, but I'm staying in the Brahmacharya ashram and I didn't have any money. So I didn't know how to explain this, because if you have to be relevant in preaching, you have to address the main issue that is affecting the people. But I had no wherewithal to address this issue because I had no knowledge about this aspect. So then I again did the same thing. I went on the ISKCON Desire Tree, I searched Maharaj's lectures, the title of money, calamity, surprises, reversals, like that. And I got many lectures, I made notes, I made points, and then I spoke in the class. I was nourished, the audience was nourished. So therefore we see that Maharaj is, if we speak from his classes, we can also be successful as preachers. If we hear his classes, we can be successful as sadhakas, we get nourishment. So either way, we get nourished. And Maharaj personally is absorbed in Krishna and is very shy also. When the Journey Home book came out, initially he was very reluctant to speak about it. He was not comfortable, and he said, I wrote this book because Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj insisted that I write this book. But I'm not somebody who likes to speak all this about myself. And Gaurang Prabhu and Gaur Gopal Prabhu, myself, we insisted that Maharaj speaks on Journey Home, and we arranged a youth festival, Prerna, with the title Journey Home. And Maharaj said before the festival lecture that I won't speak anything from the book. I'm feeling too shy. So then we said, but Maharaj, 2,000 young boys have come expecting you to speak from Journey Home. You can't just go back now. Maharaj said, no, I'm feeling very shy. But then finally, because Gaurang Prabhu insisted, Maharaj said, well, if some of the boys ask me questions from Journey Home, then I may speak. So then I and Gaur Gopal Prabhu did some match fixing. We made some questions in papers and we handed it over to the boys who were sitting in the hall and told them to ask these questions at the end of the class. And when these questions were asked from the book Journey Home, Maharaj again refused to speak anything from the book. He just answered those questions on the merit of those questions. Like if somebody asked him a question, Maharaj, can you tell us something about Naga Babas? Maharaj did not say anything from Journey Home. Maharaj simply said Naga Babas are mendicants, they are spiritual personalities. So Maharaj spoke the answers to the questions, but nothing from the Journey Home. And we got really frustrated, and Gauranga Prabhu took the mic and he announced, now all of us would like to hear from Maharaj from the book Journey Home. How many of you would like to hear? And everybody, all the 2,000 young boys shouted, Hari Bol. So now he had kind of cornered Maharaj. Now it was apparently, now Maharaj was in a situation where he had to speak from Journey Home. But believe it or not, Maharaj still did not speak from the book. He said, Journey Home is a book. You can please read it. Hare Krishna. He didn't speak anything from the book. So it was so frustrating. And then also at the same time, we felt happy. We saw how Maharaj is so simple. And then at the end of the festival, I was going to my locker to take my bed out. And I was shocked when I looked up. Maharaj was sitting above my locker. And then suddenly I saw Gaurang Prabhu. I called everyone, and then we all surrounded Maharaj. And for the next 1 hour, Maharaj spoke minute details from Journey Home. In fact, he spoke many pastimes which were not there in the book, because which are edited by the editor. And he spoke all those pastimes, and he repeatedly apologized, saying that I'm really sorry I didn't speak in the lecture because I was feeling too shy. I'm sorry for letting you down. He was profusely apologetic, and at the same time, even he expressed his genuine situation that he can't speak about himself. This is Maharaj's personality. He's very simple at heart. He doesn't like to speak about himself. He likes to glorify Krishna. And we see, if you have come to Radha Gopinath Mandir Chowpatty, you will see that our temple Vyasasana is very unique. Nowhere else you will find a Vyasasana like this, where it's like a sofa where many people can sit. Because Maharaj's mood is, whenever he gives Sunday classes, festival classes, he makes his god brothers and god sisters sit next to him on that Vyasasana, and he glorifies them as if he has 100 mouths. And these guests who are Maharaj's god brothers and god sisters, they get embarrassed by the glorification. And Maharaj says, let us welcome them. And we all say, Hari Bol. And Maharaj says, much, much louder, please. And then we say loudly. And then Maharaj says, 10,000 times more loudly, please. And then we again shout, Hari Bol. So these guests, they get overwhelmed with the love and the, welcome. It's amazing. And sometimes the guests say, Maharaj, on the microphone, they say, Maharaj, we are feeling so embarrassed that you glorified us so much. And then Maharaj, with a twinkle in his eye, would say, if you are embarrassed, then our mission is accomplished. We wanted to glorify you. So Maharaj, this is his mood. He wants to glorify his god brothers. He wants to glorify Krishna. He's very, very simple at heart. He loves Krishna. But unfortunately, when we have expectations other than Krishna consciousness, when we want him to, come for our marriages, for our housewarming, give names to our children, and embrace me, and then we will have somewhere it will create a conflict of expectations. Maharaj gives us all this love, affection, so that we chant Hare Krishna. And we chant Hare Krishna thinking that we'll continue to get this affection from Maharaj. So at some point of time, there will be a conflict. But Maharaj is not a person who is interested to see that we are simply materially comfortable. He wants us to take shelter of Krishna. And he's a Brajavasi, and he has deep love for Krishna. Once when when a Brijwasi came to our temple, very senior Brijwasi, he saw the Kadamba tree in our Vrindavan Lakshmi Narayan garden. He said, Maharaj, this is Kadamba tree, but this is not Kadamba from Vrindavan. This is Bengali Kadamba. Maharaj said, yes, we thought we should not take Kadamba from out of Vrindavan. That's why we brought a Bengali Kadamba tree. And that Brijwasi loudly exclaimed, he said, Maharaj, this is not. Maharaj had told him that we did not want to get Vrindavan Kadamba to Bombay. We thought it is not correct to take Kadamba out of Vrindavan and bring it to Mumbai. So that Brajvasi shouted, he exclaimed loudly, Maharaj, this is not Bombay. This is Vrindavan. Wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. So Maharaj naturally connects to Brajvasis because he naturally loves Krishna. So he loves Vrindavan. And at the same time, you see the way he deals with the world, the way he deals with us, the way he accepts all of us for who we are. And it's so much gratitude. Once on his birthday in the year 2008, we had a celebration at one of our devotees' houses. There, he was recalling the services offered by all the older devotees in the year 88, 89, 1990. And he remembered fine details like, remember this Prabhuji, you used to come in this blue shirt of yours. And Prabhuji, do you remember you were doing this seva? Mataji, remember, used to make idlis for us. And like every devotee was shocked that Maharaj remembered such fine details, which was 30 years ago. It's like, Maharaj, it was like Mahaprakash Leela, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remembering. And Maharaj was remembering everything. So next day, Gaur Gopal Prabhu and myself told Maharaj that, Maharaj, how do you remember all these details of what devotees did so many years ago? And that time Maharaj said, if I don't remember the services offered by so many sincere devotees to our community, if I don't remember them with gratitude, then my life is condemned. That's how important gratitude is for Maharaj. So Maharaj is basically embodiment of two principles, love of Krishna and gratitude. Love of Krishna because once he got malaria and he got delirious. We all, when you have very high fever, we get delirium. And delirium is when you speak incoherently and you speak so many things, which basically you're in an unconscious state. You are not aware of what's happening around you. So Maharaj was in a state of delirium. But what he spoke in that state of apparently being unconscious was, he just spoke all the pastimes of Krishna killing demons in Vrindavan. I mean, this is what he is Krishna Maya. And because he's filled with Krishna, even in an unconscious state, he's only glorifying Krishna. And Maharaj's mood has always been this, to appreciate devotees, to glorify Krishna. And he's simple-hearted. I've seen him once sometimes come in the ashram, and he looked at me and said, do you know this devotee, Murari Gupta Prabhu, Jayachandan Prabhu? They are so amazing, isn't it? I mean, it was causeless. Maharaj was appreciating devotees not because he had an agenda or because he had some service to be done through them. He just appreciated them from his heart. So our problem sometimes is we have the wrong expectations from Guru, and then that creates challenges for us. So Maharaj expects us to also love Krishna, and because he loves Krishna, he glorifies Krishna in his classes, and if we hear those classes, we will also love Krishna. I remember once in Belgaum, Maharaj was supposed to go to the airport and he was getting late, and he was on a strict diet, and he was supposed to take only khichdi. And one Mataji had prepared khichdi for Maharaj, and Maharaj was getting so late. He said, Mataji, I'm sorry. I will eat prasadam when I come to your house next time, but this time I have to rush back. And then she started crying. And then Maharaj laughed. Maharaj said, Mataji, you are crying because I didn't eat the khichdi you prepared? Do you know how much I cry when I prepare with great effort my classes? And when devotees don't honor it, I also cry. So for me, just like you are preparing khichdi with love, I prepare my classes with love. So this is Maharaj's mood. He is absorbed in Krishna. He is absorbed in glorifying Krishna. And he wants us to also develop the same mood of loving Krishna. So to conclude, today I shared two aspects of Maharaj's personality. One is his practical, down-to-earth dealings of helping people by understanding the nature of this world and not being surprised or bewildered, and being a cool Swami. That is one aspect of his personality. And the other is he's deeply absorbed in Krishna and is Krishna Maya, is fully Krishna conscious. So when we associate with him through his Vani, we will also get love of Krishna. Just like now, thanks to this pandemic, we are so conscious of wearing masks where we go because we're afraid of this Chinese virus. Imagine somebody has this virus, and if that person comes in front of you and sneezes, then we are afraid that we may get that germs, right? If somebody has tuberculosis and if we eat from the plate infected, if we eat from a plate that is eaten from by a person who's infected with tuberculosis, then we also run a risk of getting that disease. Similarly, Maharaj is having the germs of Krishna Prem. He loves Krishna. There is Krishna in his heart. So when we hear from him, those Krishna conscious germs will enter us because he is Krishna conscious. So when he is chanting the holy name, he is importing the holy name from the spiritual world, the pure holy name. So when we come in touch with such personalities like Maharaj, we also will become Krishna conscious. So this is my humble realization and offering. Thank you very much for allowing me to share these thoughts on Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.